political drama continues to be the top story in Maharashtra. The big story, the real big story that impacts all of us has taken place in the Supreme Court today, where the top court has actually put every government, state and union territory on notice. They've been given 6 weeks to reply to why they should not pay compensation to citizens for not providing clean air and drinking water. Imagine that. The Supreme Court has actually said what a lot of us have been thinking all along. Who will take responsibility for the toxic air and dirty water that all of us, not just in Delhi and NCR, are subjected to? The court has also directed the Delhi government and the central government to set up air purifying towers in various parts of the capital. But that's not all. Far from it, in fact. In its observations, the top court has made scathing remarks, the likes of which you may have never heard before. Joining me now on this with some of those details is my colleague Vikram Oza.
Well, in the worst and possibly the strongest indictment yet, a bench of the Supreme Court led by Justice Arun Mishra has lashed out against the centre and the states for the poor quality of air that people are breathing in the national capital. The court has called Delhi worse than hell. So just to put this a little bit in context, the Supreme Court had ordered a complete ban on stubble burning in states around Delhi. It had given the top bureaucratic officers of these states 10 days to stop the menace of stubble burning. But today, the Supreme Court bench has lashed out at their failure. And among the harshest words were used, among those were these words: "The world is laughing at us," the bench said. "You are reducing the lifespan of people. Why are people being forced to live in gas chambers? It is better to get explosives in 15 bags and kill them all in one go." The bench of the Supreme Court was heard saying, "You people are blaming each other. This is politically managed pollution. Everything is happening under the nose of this court and we should tolerate all of these. This is a blame game. Nothing is being done. I am shocked." That's what we heard Justice Arun Mishra say. When the Haryana Chief Secretary told the bench that the state's officials had toiled to stop farmers from burning stubble, the court has noted that rather than reducing, the instances of stubble burning have increased, and the bench asked, why shouldn't you compensate Delhiites for this? The court has also lashed out at the Delhi government, saying that they should pay for putting people's lives through such suffering. It says, life is not so cheap in India and you will have to pay. You have no right to be in the chair. How many lakhs each person should be paid? How much do you value a person's life? Delhi's AQI today now stands at 240. It's marked as poor. By Delhi standards, actually 240 AQI is cleaner air than what people in the city have been breathing for most of this month. But this improvement is largely because of the strong winds that have helped flush out some of the pollutants. Today, of course, the government and the states have got a huge dose, arguably the most severe, from the Supreme Court.
Well, to talk to me more about this is Kailash Vastev, Senior Advocate, Supreme Court, who was amicus curiae in a pivotal pollution hearing in the Delhi High Court. Mr. Vastev, thank you so much for joining us. I just want to get a sense of what this truly means. I mean, it's heartening to every citizen to know that the top court wants to hold governments responsible. But where do you think this can actually go, and is there any legal precedent for something like this?
Good evening. You see, these are situations where courts have to innovate. You are innovating in places where there is a failure of governance. Yeah. There are acts, there are statutes, you have the Air Pollution Act, you have the Water Pollution Act, the Environment Act, and the other provisions which go in for maintaining the environment and for keeping it clean. They provide for prosecutions. It is time that individual responsibility was fixed and individual officers were hauled up under the respective acts, because there are provisions to prosecute governments. The tragedy of our system is there is no correlation between infrastructure development, the agricultural sector, as also the city developments and the urban planning. Give an example, you take any highway in this country, take for example Delhi. Delhi, Jaipur, Delhi, Agra, Delhi, Chandigarh, Delhi, Mussoorie, Delhi, whatever. Between these roads, about 200 kilometers each of the average distances, you will not find green areas anymore. Right. You've converted all of them into building sites, massive structures have come up, and there is no occupation, there is no complete buildings. See the impact. You disturb the water table,
Yeah.
you take away agricultural fields,
Yeah.
you bring in a situation where people are not willing to stay in those houses because they're not habitable. So you've got to look at the environment on a totally holistic pattern. Every state having its own change of land use, every state converting
Yeah.
agricultural land into buildings, every state utilizing forests for the purposes of infrastructure. See, that's not going to take us very far.
No, but Mr. Vasdev,
In the old days also we had
yeah,
this, now
but
in
I
Punjab and
just want to
Haryana.
understand. I just want to
The
understand.
1960,
Yeah.
I just give me a minute.
Yeah. Yeah, sure, go ahead.
No, what I was saying was, Punjab, Haryana have an act of 1969. You preserve water. During the period that you are preserving water in May, June, you cannot plant paddy. So paddy crop goes into July, the harvest goes into October. So October is a point of time when seasons change, all these farmers burn the paddy because they require a quick turnover for planting wheat. So you see, what I'm trying to say is, apart from individual failures in handling situations, whether you're keeping the city clean, unauthorized colonies, cutting down trees, permitting all sorts of construction, you are not able to control the environment on a holistic pattern. Till you don't have a ministry or somebody in government who's going to put his foot down and say enough is
Yeah,
enough,
but-
let's get green cover back, let's get planning back, let's get the roads in a particular form, nothing is going to happen.
Absolutely. But Mr. Vasdev, a couple of questions here, and I want to understand this as law.
This is the sad part of our
Yeah,
system.
I want to understand this as a matter of law. Is there any legal precedent? What we're seeing today is akin to a class action suit, if I'm understanding it correctly, but this is something that the top court has taken upon itself suo
Yes.
moto. Okay, so
Correct.
we the people are the aggrieved party here, and we're demanding an answer from those we've elected into governance. But doesn't it get a little more complicated than that? Because this is now a federal structure, so state governments have the right to make their own laws on land, etc., and various other subjects which could impact pollution. Can a top court override that structure? Is this merely sort of a wake-up call, or can something actually come out of this? Will any state government ever be asked to compensate its citizens?
Look, the first cases in the environment which came up in the Supreme Court in 1986-87. Then in 88-89 came the DCM cases. In 1992, Mr. M.C. Mehta's activities created a lot of flurry all over the place. Justice Kuldeep Singh's orders on a national pattern, preserve the Taj, preserve the structures and the like, keep the rivers clean. Now, between say 1995 and 2019, we are speaking of 25 years. The Ganges has not been cleaned, the Yamuna has become a gutter. All other rivers in the country are going through the same mess because there is no planning. We have spent thousands of crores on rivers, thousands, without any result. Because there is no political will to do this. There was some movement which started in 2014-15. The government said, we'll give you a clean river in the form of the Ganges. Unfortunately, in reality, it is not there. Until and unless we have a system of enforcing this law against the political will,
Right.
and individually holding the politicians, you're not going to make any progress.
But
because politicians make promises,
Yeah.
bureaucrats take advantage,
But it's not
they
against
frittered
the
away
law.
all expenses in state affairs, but no results come.
Mr. Vasdev, why do you think I've been so keen to get your perspective on this? Because it's not against the law to make promises and not fulfill them as a politician, as a government or as an elected servant of the people. The punishment you get is by people not voting you back. But can a court tomorrow say you've promised to clean up but you haven't, so it's illegal? Can there be, is there a legal provision for the kind of sort of holding accountable that you're talking about?
What you are saying is very good and very sensible, because that is the only way that you can possibly bring somebody to book.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, in our system of governance, the system of governance keeps the ministers, keeps the politicians away from the hub of the court, save and except in individual charges. You cannot make a class action against an individual ministry and hold the minister or the officers responsible. You can hold them responsible if there's a specific breach of any of the acts which apply, the air, the water, the environment acts and all. You can bring them within those purviews and prosecute them by saying that, look, you have done this or you have failed to do this, which is not in the interest of the system. But as a class action against an individual minister, no, you can't do it. There are constitutional limitations because they come and they go, they answer the hustings. The bureaucrat has to answer it to the people in a different form. That's
Okay.
our constitution.
Absolutely. Just
I only wish we could do it to all our politicians for all the promises they hold out.
wow, that would be a long list. And I wonder what the compensation for that would be. Just one last word from you, Mr. Vastev, on some of the things that the Supreme Court has said today, the observations that they have made. I mean, that is shock and awe. They're saying Delhi has become hell. Why don't you kill them all in one go? You know, and in a way, it is actually echoing what people are feeling.
Yes, it is true. It is true because if you have seen this city between 1950 and 2019, we have had so many plans which have come about. Everyone has been maintained in the breach. All master plans for Delhi have been kept in the breach for political considerations. Our local man sitting in an elected office is going to take advantage of not being prosecuted for what he does. We are paying a very heavy price in this city because our green covers have gone, buildings have come up ad valorem, roads have come up where they shouldn't be there. I mean, there is much to be said, but the bottom line is we are doing all this for a political consideration without taking into effect the tremendous damage we have done to our people. Look at our children. You're admitting a child every 5 minutes to the hospital because of a lung problem. Is it correct? Is it fair on those youngsters? They're the future of the country.
Yeah.
If you see the WHO reports or even the local reports by the Patel Chest Institute, it is very damaging. But these gentlemen will come back to power, have the same sing-song, and we will pay the price.
Absolutely.
Our political masters need to be told that. And need to be told very firmly. I'm glad the Supreme Court has voiced its opinion.
Well, is it going to be more than an opinion? It's a 6-week notice. They've demanded actually, an explanation to say why should you not have to pay compensation to the people of your state or union territory. That's definitely one case worth watching. Thank you so much, Mr. Kailash Vastev, for joining us on this very, very crucial story.